Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Fells of Great Britain. Okay then, let's take a look at the map and see where this walk takes us today. The town of Arnside is located in the county of Cumbria in the northwest of England and is situated on the River Kent's estuary. Our walk today starts on the unclassified road running to the south of a small hill called Arnside Knott, and from this road we head northwest along a clearly defined path that passes through woodland on a fairly steep ascent to the summit of this hill at an elevation of 522 feet. We then continue on a well-defined woodland path to Arnside Knott's viewing point, which affords the walker spectacular views of the town of Arnside, the River Kent's estuary, and to the north, the huge expanse of the Lake District National Park. From here we begin our descent, taking the path that heads southwest, and then in 500 yards turning west along a path that runs beside a dry stone wall. We continue on this path all the way down to the seafront, and from here we take the coastal path heading northeast to the town of Arnside. Along the way we pass the pier and the quayside, and eventually the road swings sharply to the southeast, and we head now to Arnside's railway station, at which point we turn south and wind our way through some very pretty residential areas, eventually returning to the unclassified road, which will take us back to the beginning of our walk. Rainstorm last night and a bit of a gale blowing through, so a lot of leaves have come down and everything is very damp and very slippery. Fantastic trees. I'm a big fan of trees. There's a bit of mist. I'm hoping this will clear. The weather forecast is for a bit of sun later today, so I deliberately chose this much shorter walk to a lower elevation, because I feared that if I went to the Lake District today the clouds would be down over the summits, and there's nothing more dispiriting than going through all the effort to get up a mountain, and then when you get to the top there's nothing to see. But small as this hill is, it's quite a steep climb and a bit tricky underfoot. And these moss-covered dry stone walls, although they're not so dry today, but the term refers to the fact that they're constructed from stone, just placed one on top of the other without any binding mortar. No cement, nothing like that. So it's quite an art, quite a skill to be able to build these things. You have to pick up the right stones, place them in the right orientation. And the moss and lichens you see growing on them take hundreds of years to form. So much history is recorded in just a few millimetres covering these stones. Who would have walked along here hundreds of years ago? Because that's how old walls like this are. They haven't been constructed, not even in the last century or so, maybe repaired. but that's it. Well, I've just got to the top of Arnside Knott, not the trig point, but the viewing point. And as you can see, as I move around now, there's nothing to see at the moment. I was hoping that this fog would have lifted by now. It's due to, but I might not be able to loiter for more than another half an hour or so. I want to get down to the coast because at high tide today there may well be a viewing of the Arnside Bore, which is a tidal inflow that causes a little bit of a standing wave, the like of which we sometimes get down in the south on the Severn Estuary. It's quite a rare phenomenon. There aren't many rivers in the UK that exhibit it, and you need a high tide and you need a spring high tide as well in order to get the best ones to view. So I'm hoping that I'll see something. A couple I just saw walking their dog who live here say that there should be one today, and apparently there is a siren that goes off about an hour before, just to alert people on the beach to get off, because the whole of the beach is flooded very, very quickly by a fast-moving wave of water. It's like a mini tsunami that is driven by the tides. Well, as I look up, I can just see the mist beginning to break. Oh, the weather's improving all the time. It was worth staying here for 20 minutes or so to see this. Absolutely spectacular. And we're looking north now towards the Lake District. The visibility is not really good enough to see the big stuff that lie behind the other side of the estuary here. And down there you can see the railway viaduct. And you can see that the estuary narrows very sharply as we go in towards Arnside and towards the viaduct. And it's this funneling of the water during a spring high tide that pushes the water into this wave. And the fact that it's very shallow means that you get a bigger effect. So it doesn't happen everywhere, but the shape of this estuary and the very high tides that we get every month during a full moon mean that this estuary is one of the few in this country that produces this phenomenon. Glorious autumn colours here now. This is truly a wonderful walk. You've got a bit of a hill to climb up, and then you've got these lovely wooded glades and meadows. And at this time of year, the colours are spectacular. So I'm walking along the beach now back to the village of Arnside in readiness to await the arrival of the Arnside Bore. I've mentioned it so many times in this video, I'm probably beginning to bore you, but it's all very exciting, isn't it? So let me show you something of the views on this estuary, which I believe It's the Kent Estuary, but I'd need to check that when I get back. Just had the siren sound an hour before high tide. But it's a little bit earlier than that. High tide is 2 o'clock, and it's about 11:30 now. But the tide comes in really quickly. You can see the sandbanks covering up within minutes. So I'm hoping to get to the village in time to see the Arnside Bore, if it's visible today. So some small boats moored up here. It's a very pretty spot. I think it's probably like this most of the year. I don't think this is heavily frequented by tourists. A lot of retired people living here. I've not looked at property prices, but they're probably through the roof. A lot of people out walking dogs. I guess if you move here, you have to have a dog, don't you? So it's been very pleasant, very varied. Most of my walks in the lakes tend to be about climbing something varying in difficulty and then having fantastic views at the summit if it's clear. But here, Arnside Knott is not a high climb, it's only about 300 feet or so. But it gives you fantastic vistas of the estuary around Arnside and across into the lakes, as I hope some of my other videos during this walk will give you some sense of. But you just have to be here to witness and experience this delightful place, unsung and unknown by many. And I'm having to watch my step here. There's a stream to go through. Let's hope it's not a sewage outflow. This is the viewing point on Arnside Knott, not the trig point, not the highest point, but the views it affords anyone who takes the trouble to come up here are spectacular. So now that I'm at the top of Arnside Knott, let's get the drone up and see if we can get some interesting and perhaps even spectacular vistas. Now, very few people of my age find anything good in social media. It's technology very much for young people. But I met a man today who was filming the Arnside Bore in the estuary, as I was, who was middle-aged, not a youngster, but a very keen user of TikTok. And he explained to me how this countryside that we have in the United Kingdom, which is taken for granted by just about all of us, is highly prized by people in other parts of the world, and landscape photography and videography on TikTok of the countryside in Great Britain is something that you can actually make money from. He spoke of shots he'd done near where he lives in Kendal in winter, over near Haweswater, spectacular summits and snow, and he was getting hundreds of thousands of hits on TikTok for nothing more than a 10-second video panorama of the Haweswater mountainous setting in winter. And it brought home to me the fact that we really do need to get out more in this country of ours and explore it and appreciate it, because many of the areas in this country have a geology and a background and a history that is unsurpassed, and there is nowhere quite like many of the places in this country to be found anywhere in the world. And so I find it to be a great privilege to still be able to get out into the countryside and enjoy myself. So here we are, finally at the summit of Arnside Knott. I can't quite remember the elevation, but it's only a few hundred feet. So let's have a look at the trig point itself. Totally unremarkable structure. Well, I suppose its claim to fame is the fact that it's the only trig point I've ever encountered that is in a woodland setting. They're normally placed where there is a vantage point, and of course that's what they're for. They were originally installed by the Ordnance Survey to take trigonometric readings, bearings, and sun elevations and the like, as part of placing the trig point on the landscape in a known position, so that accurate maps could be drawn. Of course, satellites have replaced this these days, but so these trig points are probably becoming more historical. But perhaps this woodland has grown up around this trig point after it was originally set in place. That can be the only explanation, because nobody would put a point here where you can't actually take any readings off it, although it does mark the highest point on Arnside Knott nonetheless. Well, it's been a fabulous walk today. The weather's improved as the day has gone on, and I've greatly enjoyed climbing this small hill on the southern flank of the Lake District. It's well worth a visit. The terrain is very varied. We have woodland, we have lovely glades, we have a coastal scenery that is unsurpassed, and of course the famous Arnside Bore, which was quite spectacular, although I completely failed to film it. It comes through very quickly and unpredictably, so I think really to do it properly you need to have a practice run. So I wouldn't be able to come here and get the same opportunity for another month until the next spring tide. But it's well worth coming to see, and there were lots of people spectating today, and just one other photographer doing a time lapse. So do give this walk a try. It doesn't have the spectacular aspect that walks on the fells in the Lake District and in Snowdonia have, but it really is absolutely delightful. One can well understand why it's a very popular retirement location. So do join me again for another episode of Walking the Fells of Great Britain. Bye for now.